GM. GM. Monday, 29th of January. Daily levels. So we've had our weekly close. Looking very good. Pretty solid. Didn't close up near the highs, but overall a great reversal on last week. And typically, that type of weekly candle, that sort of reversal, would indicate some kind of upwards pressure on price. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like this even. We had this reversal candle and then a bit of chop but upwards. And that was, of course, after we went below the bands. It's even stronger. We've held the bands. I would say BTC probably, forget fresh chart, probably looking at it to stay within this range here. It could come down as low as the bands, up as high as about 45, 46. And I would expect selling at that point. I wouldn't be surprised to see this, right? Where whether it goes up or down first, and by the way, I think it goes up first. I'm still long. But I wouldn't be surprised to see price coming back as low as these levels and into the weekly bands. So even if you go up first, you might see it sweep out that liquidity at 38.5. Sorry, 38.5? 43.5. Then down as far as here. Then up. And then back down. So there's two different paths to get to the same place. Up and down, down and up. I do think we come up and fill into this gap. That's the most likely place where spot sellers will step back in. But overall, Bitcoin's looking good. And what you're just looking for now is how much higher do we go? And then do we form higher lows? If we start to form higher lows within this range, it's very likely then that it's going to be building for an X breakout. We've had the sell-off. So, when you go back and you look at these kind of bull market moves, and whenever you're in mid-bull, you see these type of movements. So you have your sell-off, right? And then price just chops around within this range for a couple months. You have your big sell-off here, right, where we sold off from the top, flushed out, price sideways, chopping, grinding higher. And that's very typical. Even here, you had your first sell-off, second, chopping, grinding, boom. And then, by the way, Tesla announced they bought Bitcoin here. I am fully expecting this year another big entity, multiple entities, to announce that they've bought Bitcoin. That could be sovereign wealth funds, could be some of the biggest companies in the world, your Saudi, Aramco's, Apple's, some of the biggest single investors or businessmen or entrepreneurs in the world, your Jeff Bezos, etc. Because it now becomes, especially with the addition of, BlackRock, Larry Fink backing it, it now becomes a race to see who gets in next. Whether they buy a lot or a little, I don't know. But we haven't seen the last of the major countries and companies and individuals investing into Bitcoin. So that's interesting. I think we're going to see that. Not just like last cycle, all we got was Tesla, really. I think this cycle we get just a wave. A lot of that, could even potentially go in through the ETF, but the net result is the exact same. Because it's a spot ETF, it doesn't matter if they buy through the ETF or buy their own Bitcoin personally. The net result is the same. And I think that's going to have positive upwards pressure on price. And also then we go back to here, I think that's it. That's the bottom. Why would that not be the bottom? Why when in every bull market move we have, the bottom comes after the first sell-off typically? Right? Like any of these 2021s I showed. You sell off and then you go sideways, you sell off, then you go sideways. Why would we not just go sideways now? Why wouldn't price just grind around in here? Why wouldn't it go up and down and up and down and then go higher? Right? That's mostly what I'm expecting. As much as we can go lower, It's surely possible. I don't know, this weekly reversal tells me otherwise. We can fill this wick in for sure. Price can come back down. It could even maybe touch the bottom and take the wick out. But I think this 39.49 is setting up to form a base. You know, a lot of people were talking about, oh, this is just like the previous ETF launch, but it's not. Right? Previous ETF launch, we launched, red week, red week, red week. This one, we launched, red week, sideways week, reversal week. So it's not the same. Same as over here. Coinbase went on the NASDAQ, red week, complacency bounce, 0. We had red week, sideways week, reversal week. So you could see what complacency bounce in here if we have a strong move up this week. This is also the other thing. The stronger the move this week, the more likely it is that we actually go lower, right? Because if Bitcoin rips higher up here, and then, well, maybe not even that far, but rips higher up into a lower high like this, that really does put it at risk of going to new lows. Because the push up to there so fast probably indicates too aggressive FOMO buying, where we've had no decent pullback, and it could easily go down to a new low, because that's how a downtrend goes, right? But if you see like a shallow bounce and a pullback, that's more like a consolidation forming. So anyway, there's a bunch of different ways it can go. But overall, of course, I'm bullish. Nothing's changed from that perspective. On the data, nothing much happening. Bitcoin funding is finally back to neutral, indicating a bit of health coming back into the market. Maybe a little bit of speculation, which a little bit is good. We need it. We need positive sentiment. We need bullish sentiment. We don't want euphoria. We don't want overextension. We don't want over leverage. Altcoins have ticked up a little bit, but mostly they're okay. I think pullback is probably the best. You know, if we push higher, a pullback is probably in order. But if you look at the funding rates and the open interest for alts and Bitcoin, put that down, put this up. So funding rate on BTC, as we've seen, is right around neutral, slightly below neutral. Funding on alts, still below neutral. And there we have it. So, nothing crazy. Alt funding below neutral, Bitcoin funding below neutral. Open interest just in our reaccumulation process, especially for alts. Reaccumulation looking pretty good here. Steadily rising funding. Steadily rising OI. After our bigger leverage flushes from a few weeks ago. And if you look at alts here, the alts as a whole have actually put in a really clear accumulation sign. The altcoin market, if you go back here to since the 8th of January to now, so the 8th to the 23rd, if you look at total 3, so the 8th was this big flush, this second push. This is when alts got nuked, right? That was when open interest bottomed out. We pushed lower, but open interest didn't on the 23rd. Price pushed lower, OI didn't. So see it here on a 4-hour chart. We'll just zoom into alts. This is quite healthy. We're seeing open interest rising and continuing to hold, but it's not like ramping up like this. It's not pushing up to new highs. It's not like overly speculation. This is low funding rate, open interest divergence positive. OI makes higher lows, price made lower lows in here. That's good. That's a sign of accumulation. That's a sign of healthy reaccumulation. You don't want to see open interest keep bleeding. The whole point is in a bull market, you have the leverage flush, right? Then we bottom out. But you don't want to see it steadily decline then. If it keeps declining after that, that's a sign of just lack of interest. People leaving the market. We're not seeing that. We're actually seeing the opposite. We're seeing some early signs of accumulation on alts, which is good. Spot premium is back as well. We've had a couple of examples. If you just look at Bitcoin, for example, the spot, so for the longest time there, we had huge disparities in the spot and futures prices. Or if you compare Bitcoin on Coinbase and Binance, I'll put them on new price scale, yeah, and then you compare the perps. Let's do Bybit, let's do CME, and let's do Binance, the perps. So I need to get the labels on these. There we go. So you can see here that you've got Bitcoin, Coinbase, Bitcoin on Binance and Bybit. So 42,216, 42,210, 42,214. That's Coinbase on the left, and then the two derivatives on the right. So the derivatives, the perps price is lower. Is lower than the spot price. That means spot is trading at a premium. It's ever so slight. It's more like back to neutral, but that's really good. You go to Binance on the left, 42,233, so it's even higher. So Coinbase spot price, Binance spot price are higher than the perpetual futures price, which is good. Very healthy. Very healthy overall for the market, as we see. You know, when you go back into some of these areas over here, like, where can we find some examples? Like, even, let's say, at the peak of this move here, we had pretty significant 280, 308, 296 with 273. So you flip back to December, the perps on average were generally leading the spot price. And whenever the perps are leading the spot price, it shows a perp premium, a premium on futures, which indicates that the market's being driven more by leverage, or at least not by spot. But we now have the opposite. So when you're looking for a bottom, these are all the signs you look for. You see healthy wipeout of funding, or healthy reset of funding, I should say, healthy wipeout of open interest, and then open interest starts to reaccumulate, like we've seen on alts. You see the perp and spot premium return back to positive for spot. And then, of course, we have sentiment, which is fucking toxic and terrible, which is great. And we have people de-risking and they're out of the market and they're sidelined. So until we see, like, I think that will all change pretty quickly. Like, if Bitcoin rips up to here, people will start to ape back in because they feel like they've missed the bottom. And that's when they're probably at risk of a flush back down to 40. And then away we go again. So, you know, if I'm looking at it from this perspective, we've had one leg, right? We had our bounce off the lows into a consolidation. One leg up, consolidate. I expect another leg up, consolidate. Probably a final leg, and then we retrace. Back down, and then away we go.